So I'm going to start screwing around with the carb on my duster. Basically, I'm tuning up a 750 quick fuel street series double pumper for 360 Magnum aluminum LA heads, automatic transmission. It's got a single plane intake. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, stick around. I'll show you a few of the things that I do and some of the things that I think might help. No, I'm no seasoned carb guy. I love carburetors. I love the way they work, or the way at least I think they work. They're kind of magic, but really not when you boil it down to it. If you've got some of the right instrumentation in place and a basic understanding of how things work, they're super simple. They're just, I don't know, they're so much fun to learn about, and you try something, it works good, it doesn't work, whatever, you try it again. You need lots of time to tune one. At least I do, because I don't have the experience that a lot of guys have. But one of the things, I started doing this over a few days, like doing it in evenings and whatnot like that, but it wasn't really working for me because, you know, the change in weather and blah blah blah, it all affects the stuff that you're doing. So I got a spare day here, and it's pretty common, like around 72 degrees all day. And I think it's going to be just a great time to get this thing tuned up just the way I think I want it. And I got some racing planned for this coming Friday. So, I mean, I can't wait to see what the changes that I make are gonna do. So I started out, I set my idle mixture screws. It's a four corner idle carb, and I set them kind of for the best idle vacuum, for the best idle stability, just so that it wouldn't drop a lot of RPM when I put it into gear. Now, one thing I've learned the hard way is you got to make sure that you don't start screwing around with stuff like that until you're right up to temperature. Take it for a drive, even if you got to nurse it around and 2-foot it or whatever, until it's up to temperature. Bring it home, leave it in gear, pull the e-brake, do whatever you got to do so it doesn't move, and set your curb idle then in gear. If you got to have a friend or a kid or whatever to hold the brake and keep it in gear, whatever you got to do, make sure it's got that load on it when you're setting that curb idle. And that's, I mean, it's going to be your best bet. Big thing, what I had to learn is you can't just set it and forget it. You got to set it and go drive it. And your best bet, from what I've found, when you're setting your curb idle, is to set it, drive it, set it, adjust it, drive it, screw around with it until it's all around till you're happy. I set it originally and I was really happy with it. It was idling well, starting good cold, but it was just pig rich. Even though I've got my distributor hooked up to manifold vacuum, and as soon as it starts, it increases that advance so that you can run on a leaner mixture. It just likes to run pig rich for whatever reason. So I've now got it that I'm really happy with my curb idle. And that's honestly, I really think, one of your best places to start. It's not too rich cruising around town at that 25 miles an hour ish area. It's running nice. It doesn't want to buck and fart and screw around when you're stopped at a light or at a stop sign. And that part of it, I think I've got it really good. All I can say, just trial and error, screw around until you get it good. And really small adjustments. Like, I know so many guys, they want to run like, you know, a quarter turn, a quarter turn, a quarter turn, a quarter turn. I'm going like an 1/8 of a turn. When it's close, even right down to like a 16th of a turn, just so that you can make it happy. That's a bigger deal on a four corner idle, from what I've found. If you just got 2 idle screws, it's easier to take a little bit bigger swings. But anyway, that's the way I do it. Hopefully it might work for you. Now, a couple of things that I do to make working on these things easier. I've got this little cup from, well, I bought this one from Moroso, but you know what? You can use whatever. What I like about this one is it's got this thing to run the fuel in. Basically, when you take out the carb bowl screw, it will drain your float bowl. So this thing, I mean, you still lose gas all over the place, but it makes it better if nothing else. And see, I got fuel all over my table anyway, but whatever, I don't give too much of a crap. At least I saved most of it. And this too, it's a magnetic nut driver, 5/16, and it is super nice for taking these out of there, and you don't have to worry about dropping stuff, and just makes the job a whole lot nicer. One thing a feller's got to remember too is don't get too far ahead of yourself. I really like this feed line, but it's kind of a pain when you have to take the bowls off and you gotta pull this off every time. But you know, pretty much whatever feed line you use is going to be that way anyway. I used to go right from my fuel pressure regulator with 2 lines up to the one to each different bowl, and that made that work a little easier. But this is okay, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. So let's drop these 2 jet sizes. This is another thing, this little Holley jet tool. Now there's a million different types of jet tools, but you got this that indexes it into the center of the jet, and then the little flat screwdriver thing that is obviously it's replaceable for whatever reason. Maybe they go to crap at some point, but just a few little things to make your life easier when you're working with carburetors. I've also just over the years, I kind of paid attention to the stuff that I need to service carbs, and it's all together in one toolbox. So when you're going to go to use a carb, I just grab my Holley box and away you go. Works out real nice. Now I know anybody that tells you anything about tuning carburetors is going to tell you you only ever really want to change, you know, at most 2 jet sizes at a time. But honestly, I find when you know you're way off, and I mean, this is just kind of, I guess, an experience thing, and I'll get better with it just like anybody else will with time. But when you know you're way off, if you dick around just changing 2 jet sizes at a time, it takes you a lot more time. If you know you're way off, swing for the fence, go for 4 jet sizes or whatever, just to try and help get you where you're going. And that's actually what I did this time. So we'll see how I do on this. Big thing too, never forget, which I forget about half the time, but put your accelerator pump arm underneath the damn actuator for it. Otherwise you're just gonna end up pulling your fuel bowl off or readjusting the accelerator pump, which is a pain in the ass too. It's just something to remember, and it'll save you a little bit of time and hassle when you're dicking around with these things. Nice thing regarding the nut driver, especially this magnetic nut driver, it just makes it super handy and convenient for putting these together, and you're less likely to over torque things. Now, I guess I've always been lucky, but it's always been something that I've been conscious of. But when you are tightening up carb stuff, remember this is just like an aluminum carburetor body. And yes, you can helicoil stuff. I get that. But from what I understand, I've never had to do it, but from what I understand, Holley kind of has a special thread. So you can't just go down to the local hardware and get a thread repair kit for it. You need to get it, I believe, from Holley or from someone that specializes in carburetor junk. So that's it. We'll throw this on the car with the changes and let's get tuning. One thing I gotta say I love about having a electric fuel pump is you just turn the key, start the pump, and it's super easy to check for leaks. You can see the bowls fill to level. You can check and look everywhere, make sure you don't have anything leaking. And she looks like she's good to go. I might have a little bit high secondary bowl levels, but we'll worry about that later on. So my first attempt, bringing 4 jets out of the primaries and leaving the secondaries be alone. But we're just gonna do it, and we're gonna run it, and we're gonna see how she goes. Well, that didn't bring us where we needed to be. We're still rich down low. So even though it idles real nice, I'm gonna just try to take a little bit of fuel out of the curb idle screws, and I think that's gonna help that out a bit down there. I shouldn't screw up my idle because it's richer than I care for it to be, regardless of the AFR reading. It's not what I want to see. So we're going to lean it out a little bit there, and I've taken 2 more jets out of the primary side, and I decided, just because I pretty much know it's going to need it, while I had the carburetor off, I took 4 jets out of the secondary side as well. Something I'm coming to learn, and it was brought to my attention. It was actually a fellow that watched one of my videos and made a comment when I was tuning the same carburetor for the 318 that it was on previously. And he told me, he said, when you switch to the bigger engine, the more powerful, the 360, bigger cam, blah, 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 he says, don't be surprised if your carburetor settings are not that far off. And I'm going to be honest with you, I truly do believe that I'm going to be going back to fairly close jetting wise, and I'm going to say probably exactly the same place squirter wise as I was when I had it on the other engine. Now, does that make sense? Probably not. I mean, it's not going to be exact, but I mean, I guess you think about it, 360 cubic inches, 318 cubic inches, it's going to need more fuel to make more power. I get that, and it will have that, but it's not going to be all that far off what it was previously. I guess we'll see. closer with our cruise, and I'm not sure, maybe a little bit further away with our acceleration, but for now, I'm just going to leave the acceleration alone, and I'm going to drop another 2 jet sizes on the primary side of the carburetor just to see what that does at that 50, 60, 70 mile an hour cruise. I still do believe that we're in the secondaries at that point, but I guess this will tell the tale. We'll know for sure. Well, test drive went well. The video part of it didn't because my battery died. But anyway, I'm sitting right around the 13.9 to 14.23 in my AFR on the highway. And I do know now I've taken a little bit of fuel away from it, and I've got a real nasty lean pop off the hit. So I went back to the old squirters that I used to use. They're basically a 35 with a nozzle, and I went from a 31. Now I know that's a big jump because, well, 31 to 35, I don't even know if they make sizes in between that, but I know the nozzle adds a little bit to it as well. So we're just gonna go out. We're gonna give it one more test drive because I'm running out of time. I'm gonna start doing family stuff, but one more try, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna be kind of where we're gonna be at least for a while. I'm gonna drive it like this for a while. I'm gonna try it at the track. Probably if I do anything more with my wide open throttle jetting or timing, I'm gonna do that at the track on Friday because I mean, it's just so busy around where I live. And yeah, no, there's probably not going to be any cops, but that'd be just a freaking grand plan if one was following me when I decided to do one of my spirited acceleration runs, because my car is not freaking quiet, let me tell you that. There's really no sneaking around with this thing. So I'm going to give her one more go here just to make sure that pop off the takeoff is done, and we'll go from there. Well, due to my top drawer camera work, I didn't get anything on that one either. But you know what? I just took it for a quick blast with the bigger squirters in there. There's absolutely no hesitation whatsoever. It just shits and gets, which is what I was hoping for. It started raining here, and it freaking rains every other day here this year, it seems like, so whatever. I'm going to leave it where it is for now. I'm going to drive it for a little while and just see where it's at. It's right around like high 13, low 14 AFR on the highway. It's about 12 and a half, 13 cruise around town, which is pretty good. I mean, it's a little bit maybe on the rich side, but everything seems to be running really well, and I'm happy about that. So like I said, I'm gonna leave it like it is for now. I'm gonna drive it for a while. Something that I've learned about carbs and carb tuning is you can beat the crap out of yourself chasing perfect, whereas once in a while just drive it, make some changes. No different than with, like I was saying, with the AFR. Drive it, make some changes. Sorry, not the AFR, the curb idle. Just don't be in a rush. It'll come around, and it'll eventually become something that, you know, you'll find a little bit of an issue, and you'll know how to tune your way around it. And if you're the type of guy that enjoys tinkering and dicking around with this stuff like I do, it might be okay. I mean, when it gets to the cooler weather in October, if I'm still able to drive, which who knows, you never know in this country, but I might have to adjust a little bit and make some changes there too. But that's half the fun of it. Anyway, anybody that's stuck around this long, thanks a lot for watching. There's going to be some more of this kind of stuff. Like, I'm going to finish tuning this carb as well as I can, both for the track and for the street. And as soon as I've got this one kind of where I think it's sort of as good as it's going to get, I have a 750, just a vacuum secondary, run-of-the-mill old Holly 3310. And I'm going to try that. I'm going to put that on there, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to make it as good as it can be. Now, obviously, there's a lot less to adjust on that carburetor. The whole secondary, like I said, is vacuum. It just comes in as it feels it needs it based on that one spring. So should be fun. Should be good to make a good comparison. And what I think I will end up doing is back to back at the track, I'll run the 3310, see what I can do best run, and then I'll drop the quick fuel on there, and I'll run that as quick as I can back to back, as close to as close a comparison as I can get is what I'm hoping for. So I think it'll be a lot of fun. And if you're the kind of carb nerd like me that you think you might like that, maybe subscribe to the channel. It'll give you a notification when the stuff comes up. So thanks for watching.